buried beneath layers of scorching sand in one of the most unforgiving deserts on Earth. They were waiting, perfectly preserved, their skin dried like ancient parchment, their bones untouched by time. The Sahara Mummies. For centuries, they whispered from the silence. Who were they? Where did they come from? And why, against all odds, were they mummified in a place that should have destroyed every trace of life? Archaeologists stumbled upon them in shallow graves, their faces turned to the blazing sun. Unlike the mummies of Egypt, these bodies told no obvious story. No tombs, no gold, no hieroglyphs, just silence and sand. And yet, their preservation was unnatural, impossible. Some dated back over 7,000 years, older than the pyramids, older than civilization itself. Rumors swirled. Were they desert shamans? Lost migrants from a forgotten empire? Or something else entirely? Something that rewrites everything we thought we knew about ancient Africa? Now, thanks to cutting-edge ancient DNA analysis, the truth is finally emerging. A truth that defies borders, erases timelines, and connects the Sahara to worlds no one expected. Could this be the missing link in the great human journey? Or the last trace of a civilization swallowed by sand? The question is chilling. What does the DNA of the Sahara mummies really reveal? The Sahara wasn't always a sea of sand. Thousands of years ago, it was alive, lush, wet, teeming with rivers, lakes, and life. Known as the African Humid Period, this era transformed the region into a green paradise, stretching across what is now barren desert. Nomadic peoples hunted, fished, and thrived here, leaving behind traces of their presence, tools, cave art, and the mummified dead. The most famous discovery came in 1999, near Gobero, in modern-day Niger. It was here, in the ancient lake bed, that archaeologists uncovered a Stone Age cemetery with over 200 skeletons, some of them shockingly well-preserved. Among them were women, warriors, even a mother cradling her child. But what stunned researchers wasn't just their age, it was how advanced their burial practices were. Bodies posed, jewelry intact, tools arranged with care. It hinted at ritual, identity, memory, a culture with roots deeper than expected. Yet, there was a problem. These people didn't match the timeline. They didn't match known genetic patterns from surrounding regions. Who were they? Where had they come from before the Sahara turned to sand? The mummification was unlike anything seen in Africa outside Egypt. But these were not Egyptians. They were something else, something older, something lost. The mystery was growing, and the sand was no longer enough to keep it buried. The clues were there, but the truth? Hidden in their bones. The first true breakthrough came not with the bones, but with a tooth. A single molar, cracked and worn by time, unearthed from the jaws of a mummy lying beneath layers of compacted sand. It was recovered at a site known as Ouan Muhugiag, deep in the Libyan Sahara. The body, that of a child barely 3 years old, had been intentionally mummified. Organs removed, body wrapped, skin treated. Yet it dated back to 5600 BCE, well before the rise of Egyptian embalming. That tooth, however, held more than decay. It held DNA, traces of ancient genetic code sealed inside the pulp, protected from millennia of heat and desiccation. When a team of researchers from Europe and North Africa decided to run full-spectrum sequencing on it, expectations were low. DNA rarely survives in desert conditions. But against all odds, the sequences came back. Not fragmented, not partial, intact. What emerged was startling. The child's genome didn't align with known Saharan or sub-Saharan populations. Instead, it revealed genetic links to distant peoples, groups separated by geography, time, and culture. Something was deeply off. Either history was wrong, or something had moved across the Sahara long before anyone believed possible. This tiny fragment, one tooth, had cracked open a window into a forgotten world. And once opened, the questions only multiplied. Who was this child? What community preserved their dead with such care in a time before written language? And what secrets still lay in the desert, just waiting for science to see them? The investigation was just beginning. As the genetic anomalies multiplied, the urgency of the investigation escalated. Teams from leading institutions, Oxford, the Max Planck Institute, and North African universities joined forces, forming an unprecedented coalition of archaeologists, bioanthropologists, and geneticists. The Sahara, once seen as a genetic dead zone, became the epicenter of a radical new search for human origins. The researchers began extracting DNA from additional remains found across several sites: Gobro, Takarkori, Wan Muhugiag, and even remote burial mounds scattered through Chad and Mali. Each sample was painstakingly handled inside clean labs, under controlled temperatures, using advanced polymerase chain reaction (PCR) techniques to amplify fragile sequences. But challenges mounted: sand contamination, heat-degraded strands, political instability in some regions halted excavations, and even when data was recovered, it didn't fit neatly into established migration models. Instead of showing gradual genetic flow from sub-Saharan Africa or the Mediterranean, the Sahara mummies revealed bursts, sudden infusions of genes from unexpected sources. Some sequences resembled early Eurasian lineages. Others matched populations from the ancient Near East, and a few had no clear match at all. They were ghost lineages, evidence of now extinct human groups who once roamed the Green Sahara, leaving no cultural trace behind. Maps were redrawn. Theories shattered. The Sahara was no longer just a barrier. It had been a corridor, a forgotten crossroads of humanity. But what brought these peoples here? Trade, climate shifts, or something more profound? To answer that, scientists would need proof. Hard, testable proof locked in the very molecules of the dead. It was time to follow the DNA to its final conclusion. The turning point came when scientists sequenced the full genome of 3 individuals from the Central Sahara, 2 adults and 1 child, all buried in ceremonial graves. The results, published in a groundbreaking paper, stunned the academic world. These ancient people carried a unique genetic signature, one that had vanished from modern populations. It was labeled Basal Eurasian, a lineage thought to have diverged from all other non-African populations over 60,000 years ago. Until then, it had only been a theory, a ghost clade suspected in statistical models, but never directly observed in ancient remains. Now, here it was, in the bodies of Sahara mummies who lived thousands of years before Egypt's first dynasty. Even more shocking, fragments of Neanderthal DNA were nearly absent, suggesting that these people had split from other humans before interbreeding with Neanderthals ever occurred in Europe or Asia. In essence, the Sahara mummies represented a pure, ancient strand of humanity. A population older than empires, older than writing. Their presence in the heart of Africa revealed a forgotten migration. Humans moving into Africa from the Near East, not just out of it. This rewrote everything. It challenged the traditional out-of-Africa model. It proved that the Sahara wasn't just crossed. It was lived in, transformed, and left behind by a people we never knew existed. A people who vanished as the desert returned, leaving only bones, dust, and the truth hidden in their cells. The Sahara had spoken. Through DNA, the dead were telling their story. Imagine it. 10,000 years ago, the Sahara was alive. Grassy plains stretched to the horizon. Herds of wild cattle roamed freely. Lakes shimmered under monsoon-fed skies. And in this forgotten Eden, a people emerged, tall, slender, with dark eyes and delicate features. They fished in canoes carved from single logs. They built shelters of reeds and stone. At night, they gathered around fires, telling stories of ancestors, spirits, and stars. They were not nomads, they were settlers. Scientists now believe these early Saharan communities formed one of the first complex societies in Africa outside the Nile Valley. They crafted jewelry from shells brought hundreds of kilometers away, decorated caves with ochre-painted scenes of dancing and hunting, and buried their dead with rituals far older than any known tradition. Then came the change. Slowly at first, then faster. The rains stopped. The grasslands browned. Lakes shrank to puddles. As the Sahara dried, their world collapsed. Some migrated south, into the Sahel. Others vanished into the mountains. And some chose to stay, burying their dead with reverence before abandoning the land forever. Over thousands of years, wind and time erased their footprints, but the bones remained, and through them, their story survived. Not a myth, not a legend, but real people, caught in the jaws of climate and time. And their DNA, untouched by later empires or invaders, preserved the echo of a world we had forgotten. This wasn't just prehistory. It was a chapter erased from human memory. Until now, the Sahara mummies have shattered the silence of the desert. They've rewritten history not with monuments or manuscripts, but with the code of life itself. Ancient DNA has exposed a truth long buried beneath dunes and time, that Africa was not isolated, but interconnected. That human migrations flowed not in one direction, but in waves, in pulses, across landscapes now lost. These forgotten people, whose rituals were erased by climate and whose culture left no written word, have now become voices in our deepest narrative, a narrative of movement, of survival, of identity. The Sahara, once dismissed as a barrier to civilization, now stands revealed as a cradle of hidden complexity, a stage where unknown ancestors lived, thrived, and vanished, leaving only fragments for science to piece together. And yet, questions remain. How many more are buried beneath the shifting sands? What other secrets lie dormant in the dry bones of the desert? As sequencing technology improves and excavation continues, the next great revelation may be only a fragment away. A bone, a tooth, a strand of hair waiting to be decoded. The past is no longer silent. It speaks through data, through genomes, through stories that challenge everything we thought we knew about our origins. If this journey into deep time fascinated you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more ancient mysteries revealed by science, and explore our playlist of forgotten civilizations and groundbreaking discoveries. Because sometimes, the truth isn't carved in stone, it's encoded in our blood. And the Sahara still whispers.